Welcome to Episode 4, Travel Governance. In this episode, you will learn the governing processes and authoritative sources regarding travel by employees of the executive branch of the United States government. By the end of this episode, you will learn the importance of the rules governing executive branch travel, the distinction between legislative rules and interpretive rules, the lay meanings of the terms arbitrary, capricious, and manifestly contrary to statute, as well as how these terms relate to travel and transportation. The relationship between the Federal Travel Regulation, the Department Travel Policy, and the Joint Travel Regulations. Other forms of travel governance, including the role of PSC transportation services. The application of travel governance to travel management information technology systems. The source of authority for agencies to have travel management IT systems and associated services. The solely travel services solution authorized at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, including its operating divisions and staff divisions. Key responsibilities of travel system users and administrators in applying travel rules. The following symbols draw your attention to a particular point or topic. The red circle and exclamation point denotes a very important point. The yellow caution triangle denotes a safety note warning that failure to heed the point will likely cause significant issues. The blue exclamation point and banner denotes a best practice. And the blue binoculars denote a case study used to further explain or provide an example. This course concerns applied civics as it relates to travel and transportation within the executive branch. It should not be construed as reading law or legal opinion. Should you require a legal opinion as it pertains to the business of your operating division, then you should work through the operating division senior travel official to obtain the opinion. A legislative rule or regulation is derived from the authority vested in Congress by the Constitution of the United States. Certain agencies are vested authority to produce regulations on particular topics. Regulations are developed subject to the Administrative Procedures Act, which includes public notice and opportunity for public comment before the regulation is finalized and published in the Federal Register. A published regulation has the force and effect of law, which means it is binding upon those to whom the regulation applies. The Federal Travel Regulation, FTR, is a compendium of legislative rules governing the travel of those persons it defines as employees. Legislative rules sometimes authorize an agency to govern and manage its own affairs by creating additional rules that serve to implement, clarify, or interpret an existing legislative rule. Such rules, which are not subject to the Administrative Procedures Act, are called interpretive rules or policies. Sometimes interpretive rules, policies, are constructed in ways that pose as or subvert legislative rules, whether inadvertently or by design. Process, procedures, or guides that are not official policy might also sometimes contradict legislative rules. When an interpretive rule conflicts with a legislative rule, then the interpretive rule must give way. Legislative rules sometimes authorize an agency to govern and manage its own affairs by creating additional rules that serve to implement, clarify, or interpret an existing legislative rule. Such rules, which are not subject to the Administrative Procedures Act, are called interpretive rules or policies. Sometimes interpretive rules, policies, are constructed in ways that pose as or subvert legislative rules, whether inadvertently or by design. Process, procedures, or guides that are not official policy might also sometimes contradict legislative rules. When an interpretive rule conflicts with a legislative rule, then the interpretive rule must give way. An interpretive rule is especially likely to conflict with a legislative rule when it is arbitrary, capricious, manifestly contrary to statute, arbitrary, based on random choice or personal whim, rather than any reason or system. Capricious, given to sudden and unaccountable changes of mood or behavior, a whim. Manifestly contrary to statute, a rule that flies in the face of a law or regulation, is contrary to it. The FTR includes some great examples of guidance designed to help travel officials avoid making arbitrary or capricious decisions. Section 301-10.4, How does my agency select the method of transportation to be used? Section 301-71.206, What must we do if we disallow a travel claim? The Joint Travel Regulations, JTR, are interpretive rules issued by the Department of Defense that apply to the nation's uniformed service members. This includes U.S. Public Health Service commissioned officers, who are employees of HHS, including when detailed or assigned to other agencies, except in time of declared war when transferred to DoD. The HHS Secretary, as the administering Secretary of the U.S. Public Health Service, must implement, meaning apply the JTR as uniformly as practicable. For USPHS officers, HHS applies the JTR so long as its rules do not conflict with the FTR and the department's travel policy, and when it is practicable. Practicable: the department interprets practicable to mean it has the means to do so and it's in the department's interests. The JTR mostly aligns to the FTR and is consistent with the department's own travel policy. However, when there is conflict, the FTR and the department's policy prevail. Example: JTR allows for travel funds to be used for working dogs. However, USPHS does not use working dogs. Therefore, this JTR rule is not implemented at HHS. Example: JTR does not allow for the reimbursement of laundry expenses while traveling within the continental United States, but the FTR does. Therefore, HHS may reimburse its USPHS officers for laundry expenses in accordance with the FTR. Per Executive Order 13589, executive branch agencies' travel and transportation matters are led by a senior executive service employee. At HHS, this is the agency's senior travel official, ASTO. Day-to-day work is supported by the Department Travel Program, which is organizationally aligned as follows. The Program Support Center is an entity of the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Administration. The Department Travel Program within PSC Transportation Services is the travel and transportation policy arm in the enterprise eGov, travel system owner. This flowchart shows the HHS travel program construct. Pause the video and take a few moments to study it. When you're finished, resume the video. eGov, travel service is defined and established by the FTR. The government-contracted, end-to-end travel management service that automates and consolidates the federal travel process in a self-service web-centric environment, covering all aspects of official travel, including travel planning, authorization, reservations, ticketing, expense reimbursement, and travel management reporting. The ETS provides the services of a federal travel management program as specified in Section 301-73.1a, b, and e, of this title. FTR Section 301-73.1a provides for a travel authorization and claim system that implements the related requirements of the Federal Travel Regulation. This is the eGov travel system, ETS, used and administered by the department. The ETS is programmed to implement travel rules according to the established order of priority. Legislative rules: first and foremost, the Federal Travel Regulations. Second, interpretive rules, the department travel policy. Third, local business preferences. The eGov travel system, ETS, is the sole travel services solution authorized at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, including its operating divisions and staff divisions. There is no authority to use any other system to administer travel and transportation, including through paper forms, email, locally developed pre-approval or routing systems, financial management system courses, manual payments, etc. Travel system users are not allowed to manipulate the capabilities and functionality of the system to directly or indirectly violate legislative rules, interpretive rules, or business preferences determined by their operating division. Travel system administrators must be particularly careful in this regard, as applying high-level systems administrator permissions improperly can impede access to the system or the system's processing. What is a primary source of the basic rules used to program and configure government travel management systems? A. Laws, such as the Fly America Act. B. Regulations, such as the Federal Travel Regulations. C. Policies, such as the Department Travel Policy and JTR. D. All of the above. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is D. All of the above. Which best defines the eGov travel system? A. A travel authorization and claim system that implements the related requirements of the Federal Travel Regulation. B. A financial management system. C. A tool for authorizing travel expense types and amounts and notifying an employee what these are. D. Software used for booking flights but not hotels. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is A. A travel authorization and claim system that implements the related requirements of the Federal Travel Regulation. What is a legislative rule? A. A rule that an agency has discretion to interpret. B. A rule such as the Joint Travel Regulations, in which the Secretary of Defense has authority to regulate travel jointly. C. A rule in which authority has been vested through the Congress's constitutional authority to pass laws. D. None of the above. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is C. A rule in which authority has been vested through the Congress's constitutional authority to pass laws. Does the federal travel regulation grant authority to an agency to implement solutions other than e-travel services to administer any aspect of travel? A. Yes, it does. B. No, it does not. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is B. No, it does not. Which e-travel systems available on the web should be used instead of the eGov travel system? A. Expedia.com. B. Airbnb.com. C. Avis.com. D. None of the above. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is D. None of the above. Congratulations! You have completed this episode. Thank you for participating. The next episode in this series is episode 5, Planning and Requesting.